And there it is, Suns fans. After a week of waiting, a week of play-in basketball, the Los Angeles Clippers lost to the New Orleans Pelicans tonight in one hell of a back-and-forth game that kind of has me emotionally messed up right now. I don't know who I wanted the Suns to play and who I didn't want them to play, Matthew. But ultimately, the New Orleans Pelicans defeat the Los Angeles Clippers, and they will be the Suns' first-round opponent in the 2022 NBA playoffs.
Yeah, that's what we wanted, right? I know you did tweet out you wanted LA, so we'll get into that and
Yes.
see exactly why that is. But yeah, it's been a week, and it's been a week really since we potted. So it's good to be back with you and the Jamsters.
It's been
good. It seemed like for forever. I was like, am I still going to be the same kind of podcaster? But it's like riding a bike, dude. You know, I'm just on here talking, and
I feel
sound
like I'm
the
a
same
different person.
Are you?
Yeah. I mean,
You found yourself.
I found myself up in Spokane, Washington this week. It was snowing this morning when I left. I was like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, I was thinking about, I'm like, this might have been one of the longest times we haven't podcasted since like ever. I don't know, since like 2019.
Yeah.
I know we had some stretches in the off season last year. But anyways, we will go ahead and talk about everything about this upcoming matchup with the New Orleans Pelicans, maybe discuss, some of the other series that are going on in the NBA. But I definitely want to pop into this podcast just like I pop into every podcast, and that's with a nice cold beer. Okay, so as a reminder, Jamsters, subscribe, rate, and review. If you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, write a review. We'll read it right here on the pod. Make sure if you're watching along on YouTube, hit a thumbs up button as well. Matthew, you ready?
I'm ready. Actually, before that, I have a reveal really quick.
What?
I gotta show you guys something.
You took your glasses off. Did you shave your head? You shaved your head?
My hair is gone. It's been
Why'd
gone
you shave
since Tuesday.
Why'd you shave your head?
I'm just done with it. It's the summertime. I don't want to spend $200 a month on that piece of shit, and it's over with, dude. So here we are, nice and bald.
I love it because you say it's summertime. I spent the past week in Spokane. It was like 40 degrees. Like, I don't feel like it's summertime at all. Alberto Sauce says in the chat, homie looking like Hitman 47. I mean,
it's gone, man.
I mean, as a tribute to Matthew, like, I don't have hair either, Jamsters. Welcome to the Bald Man Podcast. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is cheers, Jamsters. Let's the Coda Kid's like, damn, put your hat back on. That's probably in reference to
no
me.
matter what.
He always gonna give it. Suns Geek Cheers. He says Bald Man Podcast. So let's talk about this first round opponent for the Phoenix Suns. And God, So yeah, the Los Angeles Clippers lose to the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, a back and forth battle over there at crypto.com arena, which brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask. Is this what you wanted?
Yeah, I wanted the Pels. I absolutely did. But I thought it was lost there for a while. I thought this game, when the Clips turned it on, I thought it was over. I had no idea that this team had it in them to really come back. But then you really look at the Clips and what they were playing with out there. It's like they don't have any closers, right? They don't have a Brandon Ingram or a CJ McCollum to really come back and help the team get back in the game. And that's what they did. And I'm glad. I didn't want to go through the drama with the Clippers, with Kawhi, Paul George, all that bullshit, like who's playing, who's not playing. I just didn't want to deal with them. Like, let's just get a good team in the Pelicans, and it's a team that the Suns can beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird. I have been nothing but confident about the Phoenix Suns this entire season. Truthfully, I think I've been unbelievably optimistic. I've been in awe of who this team is. But at the end of the day, I was boarding my plane, and I was sitting there, I was listening to some podcasts, and all of a sudden this rush of like pessimism hit me. And I realized that, oh shit, here come the playoffs. And I was like, okay, doesn't really matter who we defeat or who we have to play because we will defeat them. But I think what really just kind of set me in the opposite direction is the fact that every podcast I listen to, from the Bill Simmons podcast to the Ringer NBA show, Ryan Russillo, clearly I just listened to the Ringer. Everybody is just all over the Suns nuts right now. They're like, yeah, does it even matter? You know, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I like to finally hear that. Like, we always bitch and complain about national recognition, but when we finally are getting some of that national recognition, I'm scared shitless. Am I wrong for doing that?
No, I'm the same way because there's still the doubters. I feel like it's a good mix. And I think those guys are picking the Suns because of the injuries, because of the Warriors not knowing if Steph Curry's going to come back. I think if Steph came back, a lot of those guys might be choosing the Warriors, even though they're like, second up next to the Suns would be the Warriors if Steph came back. But I think they would choose them over the Suns for sure. I'm kind of the same way. I don't want to hear a whole lot about the Suns. You know, we always talk about the lack of respect. So we're like kind of right in the middle because we're getting the respect, but we're also not getting as much respect to where we're going to win the finals, right? A lot of people still think the Bucks are going to beat the Suns. A lot of people think the Bucks are just going to cruise to the finals themselves, which is like, I don't know, man. The East is kind of, it's a little tougher than I think people think. And I don't know, just because the Bucks did it, the Bucks were that team that no one gave them a chance last season, just like the Suns, and they made it, they won it, so people saw it. Now they're just going to say again, the Bucks are going to make the finals and they could beat the Suns again. It's like, oh, because it just happened last year. That's why. That's the only reason. And Giannis is a freak. Yeah, that's a good reason. But let's just think about it a little bit more. And plus, the Suns being the best team in the league, and there's still a lot of people saying the Bucks will beat them. That's good enough for me to feel okay about it.
Yeah, I just, I get the recency bias. I get that. Again, I don't know how to deal with people actually giving kudos to the Suns and picking the Phoenix Suns to do anything in the playoffs. I mean, what was I listening to today? Or maybe it was yesterday or the day before. By the way, did you hear Eddie Johnson on Bill Simmons' podcast?
Yeah.
How really amazing was that?
He's so good, man. Like, he's the reason I stick with him through the playoffs this year and last year. Like, I don't want to listen to anything else but him talk about the Suns.
Only disadvantage of having Bill Simmons with Eddie Johnson is Bill Simmons will be like, hey, tell me about Devin Booker. And he's like, dude, Devin Booker is legit. He's a great player. And then Bill Simmons is like, yeah, and Jason Tatum. Yeah, and Jason Tatum. Yeah, and Jason Tatum.
It's not really a comparison, though, right?
No, but he kept, like, Bill Simmons kept comparing him to Jason Tatum.
I know.
I was like, stop that, dude. Let him talk about Book, man. Like, he's like, yeah, Jason Tatum's got really good ball handling skills. He's like, okay, Devin Booker likes creating contact. It's weird, he's like, yeah, Jason Tatum, he probably needs to work on that. It's like, oh my God. Anyway, sorry about the side tangent. But again, looking at this Pelicans team, as I was watching this game, I'm going to be truthful. And I tweeted it out. I said, I want LA. Now you said you wanted the Pelicans, right?
Yeah.
Tell me why you wanted the Pelicans.
Because there's nothing really there. It's a good team. They're up and coming. The whole thing with Zion, who knows, right? Zion and Kawhi are basically the same player now, where everything's very, very quiet. I feel like both of those players can just show up one day and they're ready to play. They'll be on the court. If that is an issue where he is going to be available in the playoffs, I don't still feel that team. I think what the Pelicans bring is the same thing they had before CJ. After getting CJ, they have that closer now, but it's still not enough. It's like tonight, like if the Clippers or the Suns were in the Clippers situation where they come back and they're up by 15 and the Pellies want to make a comeback, no, that game's over. The Suns, that game's over. There's no way that the Pelicans can come back after the Suns are up by 15 on the run like that. The difference really, I know the rebounding is going to be an issue, but the big V, Valanciunas, like that's a guy the Suns can just play off the court. You saw what Larry Nance did tonight where he was grabbing the boards, but I don't fear that as much because the Suns are just so good all over the place compared to what the Pelicans do on the boards.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think that's my biggest fear. So when I look at the Pelicans, and this is the reasons I wanted LA versus the Pelicans. First off, LA is a team that doesn't have a ton of size, right? You look at their total rebounding, and they're 19th in the league in total rebounding. They're 10th in defensive and 26th in offensive rebounding. So I'm going to preface all of this by saying, like, I know the Suns will win this series unless some freak accident happens. The Suns will win the series. But in my opinion, playing the Lakers was going to be an easier path than playing the Pelicans, because the Lakers potentially could be am I saying the Lakers or I say the Clippers?
Clippers. I was going with the Lakers.
Okay,
I was rolling with you on that. Okay,
the Clippers. Playing the Clippers would be easier because, in my opinion, because Paul George potentially could be out the first 2 games of the series, right? He's their most viable threat. On offense, consistently, they don't have somebody who scares me. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the Pelicans, CJ McCollum can go nuclear. Brandon Ingram can go nuclear. So you have 2 really good offensive talents coupled by some good defenders. You know, Herb Jones, we're going to hear all about Herb Jones and everything. And then they have rebounding. And that's the number one thing that's going to bug me in this series. And it almost works it bugs me. Let me just put it that way. They're 3rd in the league in offensive rebound. Okay, they're 11th in the league in total rebounding. And again, you know, you look at Phoenix and we're 10th in total rebounding. So we are technically a better rebounding team, but we're 19th in offensive rebounding. So what's going to be just frustrating about this series is the fact that the Phoenix Suns will give up plenty of second chance points to a team that thrives on second chance points. That's the number one thing that frustrates me about this matchup with the Pelicans, is we're just going to have those moments where if we're like, just grab the fucking rebound. Okay. And we know how that is in the playoffs. It gets frustrating when you give up second chance points. The second thing that bothers me is the fact that they are young, they're athletic, they want to run, they have size, and they have talent. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that at the end of the day, entering this game, this is a team that won a total of 36 games. They were 36-46.
Yeah.
But what they do have is they have Coach Willie Green, a guy who knows the Phoenix Suns system, has a good understanding of what some strengths and some weaknesses are for this team, and is going to do his best to try to exploit those. So again, like, you know, I'm torn because it's like, okay, Willie Green, Ty Lue. Yeah, you'd rather probably coach against Willie Green than Ty Lue, but then of course Willie Green knows your system. So I'm just all over the place. It's the playoffs now, and I'm just terrified.
I know, again. And you know what? I'm with you, dude. I honestly, the thing is now with the play-in, it's like usually you have an 8 seed that just kind of sucks, right? In the past, now this league's so deep where now we have the play-in, and you can just see how these teams, when they turn it on, they look scary in the moment. But then you have to realize like how good the Suns are in those situations where this, I honestly think, we'll do predictions, but it's going to be a sweep. I think the Suns can absolutely sweep this team. The thing is, though, with the Clippers, like their defense is so good and frustrating at times where it looks like, you know, if they're playing against the Suns, like the Suns have no chance. Like, who are they going to go to? Who's the next guy that's going to step up? But then the Suns usually have that guy to step up. And then when you're playing the Pelicans, it's like, yeah, grab the damn board. That's going to suck because the second chance points. But then I'm not too worried, too, because I feel like the Suns can just out hustle that team. I know there's a lot of young guys on that team, and CJ can lead them. But you can see when they falter to where they got to that point tonight, where it's just like, who are they going to go to? Like Ingram couldn't really turn it on there for a second. CJ was just jacking up terrible shots. Willie Green had to give him that speech, I guess, and the timeout to get him back into it.
You got to fight.
But I'm like, the Suns just crush souls to where the other team cannot come back from the stuff the Suns do to them. I think it's just totally different from what a second unit like the Clippers have tonight, or their team's like a second unit basically going against the Pelicans, playing against a Suns team that's just like, this is going to be a cakewalk. And I really think it is. I know it's scary to watch because of the way the crowd's into it, and there's the big beginning, and all of a sudden the Pelicans come back and then they win. Yeah. It's like, that's scary, but in the long run, it's not going to be a long series.
So you take a look at some of the numbers. Offensive rating wise, the New Orleans Pelicans are 19th in the league. Defensive, they're 20th, and net rating, they're 21st. Okay, you compare that to the Clippers. The Clippers' net rating was 18. You know, but they're, to your point, you know, they had the 8th best defense and a potential of Kawhi Leonard looming, just as the Pelicans have a potential of Zion looming. I don't think Zion plays in this series. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I think he's done. He's just like Kawhi, where it's like they're getting paid off their name. So they're just like, I'm not, unless we really need you or something, then I'll play.
But Zion's doing those like 360 behind the back dunks before the games and shit. You know, like,
I don't know. These guys are so hidden. No one knows anything. Like I said, like they're like, hey, my name. If I'm on a team and they have to offer me a contract, I'm gonna get paid a lot just because of my name, right? I don't need to step on the floor because they know what I can do already. So I think it's a lot to do with that. And like maybe Zion was thinking the same thing that Leonard was thinking today. Like, hey, if we can make the playoffs, maybe I'll come back. And that's why I was like, please, Pelicans win. Because if Kawhi steps on the floor, I'm like, Suns will probably still win, but I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to deal with any of the media around it. I don't want to deal with any of Kawhi winning games for the Clippers against the Suns in the playoffs.
Fair enough, and I can see that. And the reminder is if Zion does come back, because that'll be a big story if it does happen. But remember, this guy hasn't played competitive basketball in a long time. You're going against the number 1 seed in the NBA. Like, that's not a recipe for success. So kind of to your point, he's going to do those things to make himself look, to stay relevant. But I don't know if going out there and getting destroyed by the Suns is necessarily going to be something that makes him relevant. You look at the record this season against the Pelicans. The Phoenix Suns went 3-1 this season. They defeated them 112-100 back in November. They beat them 123-110 in January. In February, they beat us 117-102. And then we returned the favor 1 month ago to the day, March 15th. We beat them 131-115. So, again, a team that the only thing that it's the boards, man. I know we're going to have to hear that narrative of DeAndre Ayton's not, doing what he should be doing, and he's not. They're going to start Jackson Hayes at the 4, and Jonas Valanciunas at the 5. They're going to start big on us. And it'll be interesting to see if at any point Monty in this series counters by potentially starting Ayton and JaVale McGee. Do you think he'll do that at all in this series if they drop a game or, the first or one of the first 2 games at home?
We're going to go through spurts during these games where Big V looks unstoppable. Hayes looks unstoppable because they have good possessions back to back. Hustle plays. That is Hayes. Like, he has the hustle. He's a big dude, but he's very slender, very athletic. So it's going to be frustrating at times. I don't think Monty should adjust anything to what they're doing because we can just play him off the floor. I'm going to keep saying it because I don't think was Hayes even playing like the last 5 minutes in this game? I don't think he was on the floor, right? It was
no, because the Clippers went
Larry
small
Nance,
on him.
Right? Yeah, so Larry Nance was on there. He was playing in the big pretty much. It's just these guys will be scary, but they're not life-threatening. They're nothing to where we should change anything. I think McGee should come off the bench. Foul trouble is going to be there. I think Big V will be in foul trouble quickly. I think he's just too slow for this. He's kind of like maybe a worse version of what Steven Adams is. When I mentioned that before with the Grizzlies, I think you can play him off the floor, but Big V, he'll be gone. There's no way he's going to be an impact.
I love your confidence, Matthew.
I'm just saying.
I love it, though, because, like, all of a sudden,
we can't forget how good the Suns are, dude.
I know. Well, maybe, like, a week of not watching the Suns, and again,
that's what it is.
Hearing everybody tell me how great they are on national podcasts, all of a sudden I reverted back into Suns mode, perennial Suns mode. I mean, what was the guy? God, I forget what. Maybe it was Bill Simmons again, where he said with an asterisk. Did you hear that one?
No.
What was that? Well, he's like the Suns win, but with an asterisk. And he's like, well, what do you mean with an asterisk? He's like, well, because they've never won anything, and because of that, you just don't know. It's like the Red Sox syndrome until the Red Sox finally won a World Series in 2004. So it's just like until you get over that hump, you're always going to have some semblance of doubt. And again, I know that this is a team that the Suns are clearly better than. They beat them 3 out of 4 times. But at the same time, I'm always going to be like, well, the rebounding. And that's the thing that I put out there today. I asked everybody on Twitter, I go, what is the Suns' biggest weakness? And, man, I got a gazillion comments from Scott Foster to
that's number one. That's number one.
They're too humble, things of that nature. But after everyone kind of was saying a lot of the same things, the lack of the ability to get to the free throw line and rebounding, I reminded everybody that the better rebounding team is the one that we're going to be playing now, is the Pelicans. And that's why I wanted LA. You have finesse versus physicality. I think that the Pelicans bring a little bit more physicality than the Clippers do. And that's why I just feel like it's going to be we're going to have to expend a little bit more energy than we probably want to in this series. Now, you couple that with the fact that news came through today that unfortunately this guy.
All I can say is sham. Wow.
So Landry Shamet, it was reported by Kellen Olson. He said Landry Shamet left today's practice with a left foot injury per the Suns. No update on the severity of the injury yet from Monty Williams. Nothing on if he will play Sunday or not. Obviously not the best way to start the playoffs is hearing that one of your guys can't go. What are your thoughts on Landry potentially hurting his foot?
You know what? I was waiting for something to happen where it came out of practice. Either there's like what happened to Paul George today. It's probably going to happen again in the playoffs. There's always going to be these things we wake up to. It's like, what is going on? Like, I don't think all year long anything happened in practice. Well, you know what? Suns don't really practice too much of like during the regular season, right?
They practice for the first 3 quarters of a game and then they execute.
There you go. That's like little league. You like show up to practice and but I think Landry it sucks now because I think we know how good he can be. And now you're just thinking like, all right, who's going to replace him, right? You said, I think on Twitter too, Alfred Payton, if he's the guy.
I was like, please God,
right?
no.
Yeah, because we can't deal with that. I think it's just going to be Booker will have to play more minutes. He's going to have to play 48 minutes a game. But we don't need that shit in round 1. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't surprised that like something's going to happen, right? There's going to be an injury. Not to say it's like, oh, good, it's Shamet, but it's just like, you know what? If it is a foot injury, if it's not so severe and it is just Shamet, get it out of the way now. Have him back for the next round where it really, really matters when we probably play a decent opponent. Because right now I think you can have someone like Holiday maybe fill in for him, even though, you know, where are you going to get the shots from, though? That's what I want to ask you. Like, where are the shots going to come from off the bench?
Cam Johnson.
Place? I know that, but then who's gonna be the other guy?
JaVale McGee on the inside.
Okay.
But again, you're going against a team that has length on, you know, both their starters and their bench has length. Larry Nance Jr. He's length, you know, he's not a straight up center, but I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how the Suns execute with that second team. And again, this isn't like losing Landry Shamet's not the end of the world. If it happens, we don't know yet the severity of the injury as reported. Does it suck to not have him there? Absolutely. Do champions adjust? Absolutely. If the Suns want to be champions, they need to adjust to the little things like this. No one makes it through the playoffs unscathed. I don't care who you are. It's, you know, I mean, look at even the Bucks last year. You know, they lost Dante DiVincenzo, you know, early on, or Pat Connaughton. You know, they lost. You know, I mean, they lose guys. Everybody loses guys. It's the ones who have the best mentality, the best teamwork, who ultimately prevail. So, again, bringing this back to the Suns versus the Pelicans, a couple other things I want to talk about. There's one guy who we are going to love to hate on this team, and that is the rookie from where did he go to school? Alabama. No, that's Herbert Jones. Herbert Jones he's good, man. He's a good defender, and he's going to be a pain in the ass. But the guy who we're going to hate is Jose Alvarado.
Yeah.
Yes, Coda Kid, that little dude. Have you seen the highlights of this guy, what he does?
No.
So what he does is after a possession, after the team makes a shot, if he was in the corner, he'll almost like walk into the bench so you don't see him, and you'll end down the ball, and he'll come sprinting up behind you and try to steal the ball. He's like Campazzo, but probably scrappier, you know, as Suns Geek says, he's scrappy. He's really, he's Faucho. Yeah. He's fuck you 2.0.
Yeah, he's the main guy that's going to be annoying, and it's not going to be like, oh, he's hitting a dagger. It's going to be the dude that's like just frustrating as hell, and it's going to be possession after possession where he's trying to raise hell against like Chris Paul or Devin Booker, right? Defensively, it's okay though, because I feel like these kind of guys, I feel like in this kind of game, maybe later on in the future, he could be something that's more of a threat. But he seems like a guy that can get into foul trouble. I mean, what did he have tonight?
Not much, but again, what he does for Willie Green, he fulfills the Javon Carter role. He is and it's so funny because they're saying he was the ACC, I believe it was ACC, Georgia Tech's in the ACC, right? I don't even know, fucking college hoops, but the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, right? Just like Javon Carter was. Javon Carter was the whatever conference his fucking school's in. Where did he go to school?
I have no
Virginia?
idea.
I don't even remember anymore. Where did Javon Carter go to school, Jamsters? Remind me real quick. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West Virginia. No one said it, but I just remembered. It's West Virginia. But he went to West Virginia. He was the conference defensive player of the year. So, like, that's who Jose Alvarado is for the Pelicans. He's the guy who just comes in and for, 15 minutes a game is just pestering the opposition, whether it's Campaign or Chris Paul, just doing something he can to make this team work just a little bit harder. And that's what is frustrating to me about these Pelicans. It's a team that's just going to do just a little bit. It's going to do enough just to make the Suns try to work harder. Now, again, we got this in the bag. This should be a series that shouldn't be too hard. But again, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, these are really good offensive talents.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun to see how the Suns address these guys.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I mean, CJ really proved it now, like coming out of the shadows of Damian Lillard, where he's a guy that can kind of lead a team, right? He's always been the trade piece. Even Bill Simmons talks about it all the time. Like, oh, let's trade, let's throw in CJ and see like what we can get. You know what I mean? Now he's finally on his own team.
Yeah.
And he talked about too, like how he needed, it was nice to have a kind of a change, because I feel like as good as Brandon Ingram is, and like how the way he took over tonight, I still think he needs CJ like as a number one guy.
Of course.
And I'm not saying like he can be a number one guy in a championship team, but on a team like that, like this, that's kind of growing, it's kind of like a mini version of like maybe what a Chris Paul could do like to an OKC team, right? Get him to the playoffs, the way they did in the bubble. That's kind of what CJ's doing right here. I think he really led this team to where they played 500 ball after starting like, I think, what were they, like 1-6 or like 3-12 or something to start the season? Crazy. But then they play like 500 ball the rest of the year. But just to add him in there to hit big shots, it's something they needed. It is something that I think Ingram needed too for his career. A lot of these guys on this team, like they're super young. Like you were talking about the rookie. I'm like, who is it? Herb Jones? Who's it? Trey Murphy the third?
Yeah,
like,
they got some
young
rookies.
Guys. Yeah,
well, yeah,
I'm just like,
a team
who
that
are these guys going to step up?
Has a ton of assets. And think about the Pelicans moving forward. Yeah, they have confidence too now. But if you take a look at, this team right now, CJ McCollum's leading the team in points per game, 24.3. He also has 5.8 assists and 4.5 rebounds. You got 22.7 from Brandon Ingram, who also averages about 6 and 6 on the assists and the rebounds. About 18 and 11 is what you get from Jonas Valanciunas. And Herb Jones plays some really fantastic defense as well. Jackson Hayes isn't giving you much, but I mean, they do have a very top-heavy scoring attack. And in my opinion, if you can let those guys do what they do, if they combine for 60, 70 points a game, I don't have confidence that the rest of the team can score the extra, 40 to 50 points that they need to beat this team, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like we're kind of really trying to figure out a way to really scare ourselves with this team. In a way, right?
This isn't the team that I wanted.
I know. And usually you'll say something and be like, "What is John talking about?" And we're gonna come on here after game one. Be like, "See, told you. And then I'm like, "Oh, see, I should have listened to you. I should have went for the Clippers, even though it doesn't even matter, right? Because I can't control things, right? I'm just trying to roll with it right now."
Who should the Suns play?
It doesn't matter.
There you go. Okay. It doesn't matter who they play. Before we get to our predictions, I just want to kind of run through a couple other series in the. Well, we'll go kind of real quick and give our 30,000-foot view opinion on the different matchups that are going on in the playoffs. I'm excited. The playoffs start tomorrow. I like, we just went through like March Madness, right?
Yeah.
Like fuck March Madness. The playoffs are so much. Yeah, I did. I didn't. I fill out a bracket. I watched like half of one game. I was just, I love playoff basketball so much more than I love March Madness. But going through, we'll start over on the East. Okay. So Atlanta wins tonight. They beat Cleveland. Another game that had a lot of swings to it. A lot of swings. I mean, Cleveland's up huge to start. And I will credit that Cleveland crowd, man. They were going absolutely bonkers. It was a completely different environment than the Clippers crowd tonight. But ultimately, Atlanta defeats the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are going to be playing the Miami Heat. Give me your two-minute perspective on that. Who wins that series and how many games?
This is actually kind of close because I think what you saw tonight with Atlanta, where Trae Young can get really hot. I mean, who did we choose? So I chose Brooklyn and Atlanta. Did you choose Charlotte just wanted to point that out if you did.
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
See, I'm not always right there, Matthew. I'm actually wrong all the time.
I think a lot of these series in the East are going to be a lot closer. Like I said, the Suns will sweep because it's a 1-8, and I think the Suns are just that much better. The thing is, like with Miami, is like defensively and everything, they can get at it and they can play small ball, but they're consistent through the whole game. And I think what they really have to do, of course, with Trae Young is just to make sure that he doesn't go off like he did tonight in a quarter where he scores like 8 or 10 straight points, hitting threes from the half court line,
shimmering his shoulders.
Yeah, I think that was a little early. I wasn't too excited.
There was like 3 minutes left in the game. I was like, whoa, Trae.
Dude, I'm like, yeah, you got a lot of game left. Usually that's something I feel like he doesn't do, but I guess maybe he does. I know he says a lot to the crowd, but celebrations I feel like he holds to the end. But I think this can go for I'm going to say Miami for sure, but it's going to go at least 5 games. So
I think it
won't be a sweep.
No, not at all. I think, again, the Hawks were 43-39. Okay, that's disappointing, right? But like you look at the basement of the East versus the basement of the West, and it's completely different, right? Yeah. Like they were the 9 seed, 43-39 entering the playoffs or entering the playing games. The 9th seed in the Western Conference was the Pelicans, and they were 36-46. I mean, they are 6 games worse than the Hawks were. So I think that the Hawks have a better chance of defeating or putting up a fight with the 1 seed than the Pelicans do with the Suns. I think that this could be a game that goes 6 or 7. I do think Miami wins. I think that the talent will win out. I do think that Atlanta has a crazy talented team, and that's probably because they made an Eastern Conference finals appearance last year. They're without John Collins. I think that their depth is a little suspect, whereas you have the depth of the Heat coupled with a lot of people who've played some championship level basketball, and Tyler Hero is pretty insane. So that'll be an interesting series. So I'll say Miami in 7 on that one.
Okay. Oh wow. All right.
I should write this shit down.
Just go to just take Atlanta, man. Atlanta in 7.
Atlanta in 7. Done.
Yeah. Miami. Are you gonna pick Atlanta?
Atlanta in 7.
All right.
Recency bias. All right. Next up, we'll talk about the 2-7 matchup. Boston takes on Brooklyn. Yes. What do you think about this one?
It's gonna be fun. It's interesting because the Nets just have the 2 guys, really, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, which to me, when they're playing healthy, they are 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. So I would always usually say the best players on the floor will win.
Yep.
This is really hard because Boston's playing so well defensively. They're looking great. Tatum's finally found something there. He's actually now the leader. I feel like Jaylen Brown's a good fit next to him, even though I said they couldn't play with each other. One of them would be traded, which they always talked about. I think that wasn't really far off. I think they were really close to getting rid of Jaylen Brown.
I think so too.
I think they're so close. Brooklyn, I'm going to choose Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn's going to win this series. I think it's going to go 7.
Okay, you got Brooklyn in 7.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with David Ray, one of our Jamsters who's watching along live. He says Boston in 6, and I'm going to agree with that. And here's the reason why. I think that as you mentioned, Brooklyn is top heavy. And we've seen recently what top heavy teams have a challenge with, and that's their depth. And the depth that hurts Brooklyn is, 1, we don't know if Ben Simmons is going to play. And 2, if he does, it's not going to be peak Ben Simmons. It's the same argument I had with some people when it came to, well, I'm afraid about the Clippers because Kawhi could come back. It's like Kawhi's not going to come back and play at an all-NBA level after not playing for a year. It's just not going to happen. Same thing with Ben Simmons, right? So because of their top-heavy roster construction, their depth hasn't been built out properly. And I think that because of that, the Boston Celtics, who play great defense, the Brooklyn Nets don't. And I think Boston takes them in 6. I honestly do, because their depth is better. Now, granted, the way that Brooklyn wants to attack that series is if Time Lord's not in there, they're going to attack the interior. Kevin Durant even said that. And when you got, Andre Drummond, you're going to do everything, who's played pretty well for the Nets. You're going to have them try to attack that interior as much as they can, especially knowing Daniel Theis is down there and Al Horford, so it's not like they have a bunch of huge bodies down there. But at the same time, I just think that the talent of the entire roster, coupled with the defensive factor, Marcus Smart, potential defensive player of the year, I think that is a Boston in 6. Okay, so we
Okay.
both on
I'm
the
gonna
first two.
regret my pick on that. I have to go with the Stars on this one.
It's okay. That's always been your strategy, and I respect that.
But in today's NBA this year, you kind of find out, it's a team game, which is really weird to say, but that's the truth.
Well,
like
you
a
think
lot
about
of
the
these
best
teams that are in it,
teams. Exactly. Look at
they're just
Miami.
a
Miami's
team.
the number 1
Yeah.
seed because they're a team.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Boston too, right? Jason
Team.
Tatum's he's
Suns,
great,
team.
but he's not like, maybe he's a superstar. I don't know.
I'm not gonna go that far yet. All right. Number 3, the number 3 seeded Milwaukee Bucks playing the Chicago Bulls. Is this a sweep for the Bucks, Matthew, or do they win it in 5?
No, I think it's a sweep. It's too bad because I think your jammy was to Lonzo Ball as the skeleton in the key closet guy or whatever.
That
where
was
he unlocked
my
everything for team.
Yep, that was my one at the beginning of the season. Yeah.
Without him there, it's a big difference. I think Milwaukee does sweep for sure. I think, I even mentioned before Milwaukee, the way everyone's picking them just to go straight to the finals. I think this is the one matchup that they won't have an issue with.
I completely agree, and I agree. A lot of the Jamsters are agreeing. It's Bucks in 4. It's unfortunate what has happened for the Bulls. All the injuries that have occurred. This team has lost the continuity. They started the season so hot, and unfortunately, injury bugs. Lonzo Ball is out for the season. Alex Caruso was out for a big chunk. Patrick Williams was out for a while. I mean, they don't have the firepower to do what they need to do against a team like Milwaukee. So
yeah,
I definitely, and then you got Vucevic in the middle, and he's not athletic at all. He's been kind of a disappointment. So I think we both agree on that one. The last matchup in the East before we head on over to the Western Conference, the number 4 seeded Philadelphia 76ers versus the number 5 seeded Toronto Raptors. This is probably, outside of Boston versus Brooklyn, and obviously Phoenix versus New Orleans, this is probably the one that that I'll be watching a ton of, and the media will be covering nonstop. What do you think?
Yeah, this one's been pumped up a lot over the last few weeks. Well, I mean, just Toronto themselves. Sorry, not this matchup because we had no idea yet. But Toronto themselves have been talked up a lot defensively. Like they're that team where you don't want to go up against, and Philly landed against them. And right now, I'm gonna say Philly will win in 6.
Because they have the best players,
but it's so tough to say. No, because I mean they have of course they have Embiid and Harden, but Harden, the way he is, the way I'm thinking, I'm just like he could just go in there, lay an egg, and not give a shit. You know what I mean? Because he says he's not worried about this at all, but there's a lot of pressure. He's the one guy right now in the playoffs that has the most pressure on him to get it done. You've gone on your team with Embiid, so let's see. I believe for some reason that Harden will be back to the same old Harden. He did fail in the playoffs before, but I feel like it'll be good enough for him and Embiid to succeed against this team in 6 games. But just really quick, I want to throw it out there. I'm actually choosing this team to go to the finals. That's what I choose. That's
the Sixers?
The Sixers, yep.
You're fucking high. How many gummies have you had tonight? Geez, you shave your head and you're picking the Sixers to go to the finals.
I am. I just want to. I want them. I want them to make it. So I think my good energy.
I would love it if they made it, man. The Suns would own their ass.
Exactly but I want to see Harden and Embiid make the finals. I want both those players to make it. I know Harden gets shit on all the time. I don't care. I want this guy to turn it around. I know he should, but I want him to turn it around and prove
that's
himself.
Why
he's a top 75 player of all time. He needs to make the finals this year.
Fuck him. I don't like Harden for all the reasons. Yeah, and you know what's coming, but I'll say it anyways. I don't like Harden for all the reasons. He's boring as shit to watch. He has been for years. He's won MVPs off of it. Cool. It doesn't play in his favor anymore. He's quit on 2 teams. He's the anti-hero. He's the guy you when you're growing up, and if you're a kid and you're like, hey, I want you to be like Devin Booker. No one's saying, hey, I want you to be like James Harden. No one's saying that. Quit on your teams, get fat, whine your way out of situations. Now Eddie, I love it because Eddie Johnson was talking about this on the Bill Simmons podcast with Bill Simmons, how, physically he just doesn't have what he used to have anime.
He's 38, right? He's a 38-year-old and a 32-year-old body.
Exactly. So he's a 32-year-old with a 38-year-old body. Okay, so I'm not a fan of Harden's in any way, shape, or form. I should be. He went to ASU. I was proud of him for quite some time, especially when he was in Oklahoma City. Then he got super boring to watch when he learned how to play the rules, to bend the rules in his favor in Houston. He did it for years, and it was boring basketball to watch. He doesn't move the ball around. It's ISO, ISO, ISO. I'm going to try to draw a foul or I'm shooting a 3. Like, that is boring fucking basketball.
I know.
Now, you look at the other side of the coin. They're playing the Raptors, a team that is kind of like a healthy Clippers team. right? Not a ton of size, a lot of wing depth, and a lot of athleticism. And you got the young kid Scotty Barnes there, who's just fantastic, and it's probably going to ruin my parlay for Coach of the Year and Rookie of the Year. The one I put months ago, I put money down to have Monty and Evan Mobley win those, and Monty will probably get fucked again. And
I think Mobley will still win.
Yeah, well, Monty will get fucked again. That's
of course he will.
No one but anyways, you look at this season. The Sixers have gone 1-3 against those Raptors, including a 5-point loss like a week ago. So, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting series. I think the Raptors win it, and I think they do it in 6.
Okay.
So
very cool.
It is very cool, man.
I'm trying to cool. So cool. I'm trying to get back to my mindset when the trade first happened for Harden and we watched him play some shitty teams. I was like, oh my God, this team's gonna go to the finals.
He was amazing.
And I'm
Harden,
if
Harden
they can just get that back. If they can just get that back, they have a
in the playoffs against the toughest teams in the NBA, that makes sense. It's one thing if you're doing it against the Oklahoma City Thunder at home. That's another thing if you're on the road where you're not going to have Matisse Thybulle in this series up in Toronto. If they play 3 games up there, if this goes to 7, they have to play 3 games in Toronto without Matisse Thybulle, they're one of their best defenders. I just don't see how they come out the other side with a victory. And you know what? I'm probably wrong. Yeah, indeed.
I don't.
We'll see.
I'm only saying this and predicting this because this is what I want to happen. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I think it's gonna be a Suns-Bucks finals. I think it will be, but I want the Sixers to go.
It's gonna be Suns-Hawks. Okay. Just kidding. All right, bring it over to the Western Conference. I'm going to start kind of right in the middle. We'll go 4 versus 5, Dallas versus Utah. What are your thoughts on this one? This one's tomorrow.
Big Daddy Luka. I don't even know what his status is. Right?
He's out. He's out for the first game at least.
At least the first
game with
the
calf strain. How shitty is it if you're a Mavs fan that he gets a technical foul in the 81st game of the season? And that technical foul means that he is suspended for the last game of the season. And they fight it, they rescind it, and he goes ahead and he plays in a meaningless game, and then he strains his calf to that effect.
The way we've been watching Luka, the way he's been, even since the bubble, his injuries have always been a concern, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially lower body.
Whenever the games are on the line, whenever he's putting in the extra effort, things start to pull. He's not the healthiest guy. And that's what sucks for Mavericks fans is hey, we have a chance really to go in there and maybe have a chance against the Suns in the second round because of Luka Doncic. For him to miss this, though, is going to be huge. I think if Dallas goes down 0-2 and Luka comes back, I'd take the Mavericks. The thing is Utah has to mentally just get themselves prepared to be hey, this is all or nothing. Play that Willie Green speech during the timeout and be we're here. Let's just win. Who cares about the locker room stuff? We have a talented team to pull us off against the Mavericks, of course, without Luka. But even if Luka is there, they still do. But mentally, they got to find it. Clutch time, they have to come through. I don't know if they have that in them. And of course, I'm going to choose Dallas if Luka's healthy. If not,
that's the ultimate.
I'm going to say Utah wins in 5. If Luka does end up playing after game 1, I say that Dallas wins in 5. So.
Okay, you got to play the caveat game here, right? If he's there, if he's not. If he doesn't play, it's the Jazz might sweep him. I mean, they have no identity without Luka. They might get one. If Luka misses game 1 and plays the rest of the series, I think it's Dallas in 6. If he misses game 1 and 2 and plays the rest of the series, it's Dallas in 7.
I would say
be fantastic.
I'm sorry,
that'd be fantastic to have them go through that and then have to come play the Suns. So we'll see on that one. Next up, Golden State versus Denver. What do you think of this one, Matthew?
Oh, well, here we go again, right? I mean, Draymond Green just confessed his love for Klay and Steph, just saying they can't play without each other, which is totally true. We all know that, but they do need every bit of each other's length and cushion and all that stuff. They need it to win any series in the playoffs. Denver, I'm sorry, but it sucks. Whatever Jokic is doing during the regular season is great. Playoff time, though, it's not going to be there. And honestly, if Steph's not even playing, I still think Golden State can win in 6 or 7. If Steph does come back, though, during the series, which I don't think he will, because I think they know that they can probably win the series without him.
Yeah, I know he's questionable right now.
This is so hard to talk about because these injuries are so all up in the air, man.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with us and Landry Shamet. So, no, I completely understand.
Suns and 7 with him. Yeah.
I want Denver to win, but we know it's not going to happen. I think it's Warriors in probably 5. I think that Denver might get one of those games where you have Nikola Jokic just does everything, and there's an off shooting night for the Warriors. One of those like 3 for 21 performances from Klay Thompson. Maybe Steph's not back, and they're at home and they win game 3 or something. But I think it's Warriors in 5 or 4.
I think Denver though can sneak in 6 games just because Jokic, I think, is just that good.
He is that good.
I think because when they're missing one piece between those 3 in Golden State, it's just, it's devastating to them. I don't care how good those other guys are, and especially Draymond with his back issues. You don't know how it's going to last. There can be another injury to him.
True.
So Denver might be able to pull the series out due to injury, but I think Denver can at least last 6 games with 2 of them in.
Okay, fair. Next up, the 2nd seeded Memphis Grizzlies, the 7th seeded NBA champion Minnesota Timberwolves in Patrick Beverley's mind.
Yeah.
Did you watch that game? I didn't talk to you after that game. Did you watch that game? And what did you think of Pat Bev going fucking crazy?
Oh, you know what? I actually didn't. I think I was at was that the one Tuesday? I was at a baseball game.
Oh,
right?
you were shaving your head. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. That's when you were at the barber. Took all day.
Yeah, I forgot to shave my head.
I think this is a sneaky series. I think this is a sneaky series. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because
from both teams.
Well, and obviously the big factor in this one, it's not a big factor, but like those who watch basketball talk about it, and I tweeted something about it, where Pat Bev with Ja Morant around is just a dangerous combination. Because Pat Bev, as I've said numerous times,
I thought about the same thing, man.
He's reckless. He's a dangerous, reckless basketball player the way that he plays. He really is. In an effort to try to flop or do something that appears to be drawing of contact, he might hurt somebody else. And we've seen this before. So I worry about that going into this. Obviously, the depth of the Memphis Grizzlies is going to benefit them greatly against this Minnesota Timberwolves team. But I think that the Timberwolves, due to the fact that they have 3 guys who can get you 40 on any given night. Now, granted, D'Lo's probably not going to do it. I have more faith in Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, obviously, because they both got 40 in one night when they played the Suns last season. But they do have guys who, this is the number 1 offense in the league. You can't not expect them to put points on the board. Because I don't look at Memphis as this unbelievable defensive stalwart that's going to stop the attack of the Minnesota Timberwolves just consistently. You look at the way that Memphis plays from a defensive rating standpoint, they are 4th in the league. But from an opposing points per game standpoint, they're 12th in the league. They're middle of the pack, and they're going against a team that puts up a ton of points. So, but that being said, the Grizzlies score the 2nd most amount of points. So it's gonna be an interesting game, man.
It'll be fun to watch.
Series.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. But I'm with Sonia. Memphis in 4 for sure. I think Memphis can.
Really, I think it's Memphis
so.
in 6. I think it's
in
Memphis
6.
in 6.
I think Minnesota looks good, but I just think Memphis is just that much better if Ja's healthy.
Fair enough. It's a 2-7. It should be that way. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Suns, the Pelicans, a team that, have we ever played them in the playoffs? I don't think so.
Back when they were when they played in South Dakota, I don't know, maybe.
I don't think we've ever played this team in the playoffs. I'm looking real quick. If you go to landofbasketball.com, all-time record, the Suns are 36-32 against them in a total of 68 games played. Never have played them in the playoffs. So first time ever meeting the Pelicans in the playoffs. Matthew, sweep? Suns in 5, Suns in 6, Suns in 7?
Suns in 4. It's
Suns in 4?
Yes.
I'm going to go Suns in 5. I think this is a Suns in 5. I think there's going to be one game in there where we get killed on the boards and CJ McCollum puts up like a 50 piece. And it's just because we've seen it, CJ McCollum could just go absolutely ape shit.
Yeah.
And there'll be one game where that happens where if CJ's not killing us, we're getting killed down on the glass and they're getting second chance points. You look at it this season, that's how they beat us. In the one game they beat us pretty good. I don't know if you remember back to that game.
It took a lot. Yeah, you're right. Everything was they were hitting on all cylinders. The thing is, though, if in the playoffs, I think Cameron Johnson just hits a game winner. after that all happens for the Pelicans. So,
well, that's what we needed in that one game is we needed to have that. We needed to just have that momentum killer, because you go back and you look at that game that we lost to them. It was 117 to 102. Their total rebounds were 53. The Phoenix Suns had 37. You can't let that shit. You can't let that shit happen. So
not gonna happen, dude.
Fabio says Suns in 3. They give up after the third game.
I'll throw this out there. This is another prediction for me. After I'm just, I'm losing on everything here tonight. I think the Suns will not lose more than 3 games in the whole playoffs, including the finals.
Oh man, God, I hope you're
I think this is a start. No, I'm just saying this is a start where this team is just going to be so unbearable to the league to where they're going to be that good if they're healthy. I think they're that good this year, and I'm going to regret saying that.
Albert H is right. DA's going to need help on the boards. We're going to need some of that weak side rebound, and we need some Torrey Craig minutes. We need Jay Crowder to focus on the boards.
Cameron Johnson needs to really focus on boards.
Yes. So there you go, Jamsters, Suns, Pelicans. We will be live after game 1. We're not doing anything like we did last year, huh? Where we're going anywhere and doing anything. It's Easter. It's Easter the first game.
Oh, for the first game? No, probably not the first game. But I'm like, in the playoffs, we'll figure some stuff out, right?
Yeah, we got to figure some stuff. We got a long run ahead.
Hopefully,
hopefully,
over the first round.
But when's the second game? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday of next week?
Tuesday, or it's Tuesday, and then they play. I'm
gotcha.
Not gonna guess.
That might be right. So maybe we'll talk about something. Try to set something up for a game 2 or 3, maybe a game 3 when they're on the road. So
okay.
We'll see, Jamsters. But again, thank you for hanging out. The playoff picture is now final. We know that the Phoenix Suns are playing the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that I have no idea why they're in the West, just like Memphis. Like both those teams should be in the East. Am I right? Like they should bring in Vegas, they should bring in Seattle, and then they should just move those 2 teams to the East because they're so fucking far east.
Yeah.
They're like 2 time zones over. Just math, science, all that stuff.
Okay. No, I'm down for that, John.
But again, it's funny. Everyone keeps saying get Sabrina Merchant on here.
Well, you know what? She had her chance, dude. But
if they could come on, if they could have held that lead, they could have had it.
Yeah. Yep. I wish she. That's the only reason I wanted the Clippers to win. To have her on here. Yeah.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun to bring her on.
It's Jay Crowder.
It's a new drop, and I think it's funny. Sorry, Jamsters. That's what I do.
Running out of things to talk about.
But again,
so we start playing drops.
There you go. We're going to have a drop podcast, which is it's 4 minutes of me just doing drops. But again, thank you, Jamsters, for joining us. If you're an elite Jamster, check out the Start, Bench, and Trade Jersey number 2 podcast that we posted specifically on our YouTube page for our elite Jamsters. If you're not an elite Jamster, press the join button down below. While you're here, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification button as well. If you happen to be listening to the podcast, whether it be tomorrow, the next day, or 4 weeks from now, or maybe 3 years from now, because you're going back and you're like, wow, how did it all start? How did this magical run of the playoffs begin? Subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff. Welcome to the Suns Jam Bald Man podcast. I'm John. You can follow me at Darth Voida. He's Matthew. You can follow him.
Matthew Lissy.
And you can follow the show at Suns Jam on Twitter. Until Sunday night, everyone have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, everyone go home and love your bald family.
Or shave your head.